I want you to look at this study done by Selling Power magazine, commissioned rather by Selling Power magazine. Selling Power found in this particular piece of research that buyers, if they value quality, buyers will pay 14% more for better quality without thinking about it. It's a non-issue, that 14%. If buyers happen to value better service, buyers will pay 10% more for better service without thinking about it. It's a non-issue. I have an office manager, Nikki Shawad. Nikki's on my case constantly about going out and shopping the printing that we do. And I say to Nikki, well, doggone it, Nikki. I may not use exactly those words, but doggone it, Nikki, my time is worth a little something. And if I went out to different printers and located different printers and did the specs and all of this stuff, that could take me 2 or 3 days a month, and then risk their delivery and their quality. My printer in Nashville, everybody, is a small franchised operation. You have them where you are, called Alpha Graphics. I think they got maybe 7 people working for them. I've been doing business with them for, I don't know, 12 years. I can pick up the phone, call Alpha Graphics. I can be on, it doesn't matter who answers the phone, but I can be on the phone and off the phone with them, I'll bet you, in under 30 seconds. And they know the job, they pull the job that I want printed, they print it, they bind it, they box it, they ship it at no upcharge to me. They store my pre-printed shells. I don't have to lease storage space to store all that stuff at no cost to me. And they've been 100% over the years. Is that worth 10% to me? Please, I pay them 20%. I don't want them to know that. But hey, it wouldn't hurt me. I mean, wouldn't hurt me. It's a non-issue. Don't know that I'm paying them a 10% premium. But it is an absolutely price, in this case with them, is a non-issue. And yet against what we just looked at, consider this. 82% of all salespeople will offer a cheaper price without even being asked for one. Now, what's up with that? 75% of us, when we're faced with price resistance, will cave. Will cave. Only 18% of salespeople will consistently book business without discounting. And these 18%ers, these champions, these men and women aspire to be an 18%er, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, can you sell more profitably? Yeah, it's being done. It's being done by 18% of all salespeople out here. That's awfully close to the 80-20 rule, huh? Awfully close. But these 18, and there's a paradox. There's an irony, I promise you there is. These 18%ers are not only selling more profitably than their associates, they are what, do you suppose? Selling more. You're absolutely right. Is it Vito? You're absolutely right. They're moving more product. Now, how about that? Now, that is skill salesmanship, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start with the company that doesn't have a clue as to who they work for, Delta Airlines. I have a conflicted relationship with Delta. Probably 11, 12 years ago, I was the last guy boarding a plane out of Atlanta, Hartsfield, which of course is a hub for Delta. And I was the last guy. They were about to shut the door. And I asked the gate agent, what are the chances of swinging an upgrade? Now, I wasn't asking anything for free. Back then, you burned frequent flyer points for that kind of thing. And she looked at the screen. She had the seat. And she said, hey, great, may I have your ticket? And I said, terrific. And I took a breath and just smiled. And she looked at the ticket, and she just smiled and handed it back to me and said, oh, Mr. Slaughter, I'm sorry, we can't upgrade you, not on that fare. I said, oh, miss, please, can't you do it this once? I'm the last guy to board the plane. You got the seat. That's perishable inventory. That seat's going to go away in 2.5 hours. Can't you do it, please? And she said, I'm sorry, Miss Slaughter. I said, well, miss, who is it you work for? And she said, Mr. Slaughter, I work for Bill Smith, but Mr. Smith is going to say the same thing that I'm telling you. We can't upgrade you on that fare. And I said, well, tell me, miss, who is it Mr. Smith works for? She said, Mr. Slaughter, you're playing with me. And I said, well, yes, play along. Indulge me, will you? And she said, Mr. Slaughter, we all work for Mother Delta. And I said, you know what, miss, now we're getting somewhere. Because you called me a passenger. I am, in fact, your customer. and before any other stakeholders, Mother Delta works for me, I promise you. And people like me. So follow me, miss. If Mother Delta works for me, and you and Bill Smith work for Mother Delta, that makes me what? Your boss. And as your boss, I'm telling you, you can punch that button there. You can make a customer, a frequent flyer, happy. Punch the button. She just looked at me, smiled, and said, maybe next time, maybe next time. Now, hey, the young woman was just doing her job, okay? But was she empowered to make her customer happy? No. Did she even have to punch the button? All she had to do was that. And did she give me something to talk about? Yeah, I've been talking about it to well over 1,000 people for 11, 12 years now. So go figure. Now that's one of the questions I want you to take away from here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Ask yourselves, what are you giving your customers to talk about? You know why? Because they're talking. Your customers are talking. What are you giving them to talk about? Now let me give you a counterpoint to the Delta story. A pretty closely related counterpoint. I told you I take a cruise about every 12, 18 months. How many of you have cruised before? Lots of you. Well, those of you who've taken cruises know that you rarely book those things at the last moment. Most of the time, you got a cruise booked for several months in advance. So here's the company that never forgets who they work for. Celebrity Cruise Lines. Now, I had a Celebrity cruise line cruise booked, and I don't know about you folks who've cruised, but once I have a cruise booked, which is almost always, 4 or 5 times a week, I punch up that website, look at that ship, look at the stateroom. I don't waste a lot of time doing it, just kind of my idiosyncrasy. So I've been doing this for 9 months, and I finally get down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida is where it was, and I get up to the present my credentials, and I do. The one thing I remember, everybody, about this is there was this fairly young guy, and he was dressed in black. He had a black bandana. He had black, as I recall, black. I thought it was a costume, but it wasn't. But I thought, well, it's certainly not a uniform. Could it be a costume? No, can't be a costume. In any event, he was memorable. And he took my credentials and he starts going through them, and so much as not, without even making eye contact, he says, oh, by the way, Miss Slaughter, your stateroom has changed. And he keeps going. I say, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean my stateroom's changed? He says, well, sir, it has. I don't know why, but it has. And he starts flipping through my stuff again. And I put my hand on here. I say, whoa, Zorro. Listen, pal, what you don't understand, I've been looking at that stateroom for 9 months. I got an emotional investment in that stateroom. Don't you tell me it's changed. Beads of sweat were popping out on this bald head. The kid had the good sense to remove me from the line and send me over to a concierge type guy. And this guy had an answer. He said, oh, Mr. Slaughter, your stateroom has changed. But bear in mind, we would never change your stateroom were we not to be upgrading you. We've upgraded you to a suite with butler service. And I said, well, how very nice. I suspected as much.
Yeah, right.
Now, here's another example. This is a true story. They upgraded me and who knows how many other people. Now, a cruise ship with 1,000 or more people, that's a logistical effort. They went to some, I promise you, effort, time, expense to upgrade me, who knows how many other people. But unlike Delta Airlines, who didn't even have to do this, nod, to make a customer happy, these guys went to really an effort because their attitude was this. Why let our better grade accommodations go vacant? Why don't we give people something to talk about? It's going to take us a little time and effort, but we'll give people something to talk about. Both gave me something to talk about, everybody. What are you giving your customers to talk about? You know what buyers most want to see in salespeople? In a fairly recent study of over, I think it was 400 professional buyers, you know what they most liked to see in a salesperson? I would never have gotten this. What do you suppose? Confidence. How about that? Evidently, most salespeople, we don't bring confidence. And I don't mean in-your-face confidence. It can be a very quiet confidence. But confidence comes from preparation and practice. And that, I promise you, you do this piece. Is it a fair question for somebody to say, why should I do business with you? You don't hem, you don't haw on that question, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, you look them in the eye, you nail it. 1, 2, and or 3. Give them the reasons they're asking for. They're asking you to deliver a commercial. And yet most salespeople stumble on this, or they say the same empty, generic thing that their competitors are saying, which in effect commoditizes them. That's not a good thing. You don't think this level of, you do this preparation piece here, and it can take you a little while. Don't do it alone. Put your heads together. Put your heads together at the convention here. I'll tell you what, because you can borrow from each other, for sure, in most cases. But you don't think that level of confidence will show and sell for you? I promise you it will. Here is what I will call the scientific reason that you and I want to listen people into buying. Stop talking about Art of Sales. If I'm talking to Art, and Art's a prospect of mine, and I'm doing what most salespeople continue to do, and that's talk, 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 show and tell, and I'm doing most, if not all, of the talking, I'm talking at about 150 words per minute. People talk at about 150 words per minute. Art, on the other hand, is listening to me. People listen, just like you. People listen, can process 500 words per minute. So if I'm talking at 150, Art's listening at 500. He's got 350 excess processing units. Is he hanging on my every word? I don't, unless I am emphatically on point with him, no. His mind is somewhere else. On the other hand, if I employ the most important skill I can in selling today, which is asking questions, and I do not make the most common mistake, which is failing to listen to what he's saying to me, and Art is doing most, if not all, of the talking by way of answering my questions, is his mind wandering? No, I have fully engaged him. If the other person is doing the talking, they're in the moment. They are in the moment. They are right where you want them to be. We just got to be sure we listen up and read again visually and verbally and read what it is they are saying to us. We just got to control our 350 excess processing units. That's why in successful sales calls, many more questions are asked than in less successful or unsuccessful sales calls. Everybody take that.